So why do you think I should work for the National Security Agency?
Well, you'd be working on the cutting edge. You'd be exposed to the kind of technology that you wouldn't see anywhere else because we've classified it. Superstring theory, chaos math, advanced algorithms.
Code breaking.
Well, that's one aspect of what we do.
Oh, come on. I mean, that is what you do. You guys handle 80% of the intelligence workload. You're 7 times the size of the CIA.
We don't like to brag about that, Will. But you're exactly right. So the way I see it, the question isn't, why should you work for the NSA? The question is, why shouldn't you?
Why shouldn't I work for the NSA? It's a tough one. But I'll take a shot. Say I'm working at the NSA and somebody puts a code on my desk, something no one else can break. Maybe I take a shot at it, and maybe I break it. And I'm real happy with myself because I did my job well. But maybe that code was the location of some rebel army in North Africa or the Middle East, and once they have that location, they bomb the village where the rebels are hiding. 1,500 people that I never met, never had no problem with, get killed. Now the politicians are saying, oh, send in the Marines to secure the area because they don't give a shit. It won't be their kid over there getting shot, just like it wasn't them when their number got called because they were all pulling a tour in the National Guard. It'll be some kid from Southie over there taking shrapnel in the ass. He comes back to find that the plant he used to work at got exported to the country he just got back from, and the guy who put the shrapnel in his ass got his old job because he'll work for 15 cents a day and no bathroom breaks. Meanwhile, he realizes the only reason he was over there in the first place was so that we could install a government that would sell us oil at a good price. And of course, the oil companies use a little skirmish over there to scare up domestic oil prices. A cute little ancillary benefit for them, but it ain't helping my buddy at $2.50 a gallon. They're taking their sweet time bringing the oil back, of course. Maybe they even took the liberty of hiring an alcoholic skipper who likes to drink martinis and fucking play slalom with the icebergs. It ain't too long till he hits one, spills the oil, and kills all the sea life in the North Atlantic. So now my buddy's out of work, he can't afford to drive, so he's walking to the fucking job interviews, which sucks because the shrapnel in his ass is giving him chronic hemorrhoids, and meanwhile he's starving because every time he tries to get a bite to eat, the only blue plate special they're serving is North Atlantic scrod with Quaker State. So what did I think? I'm holding out for something better.
Hey Ryan, hi, this is Sarah Palin.
Ryan, Donald Trump Jr.
Harsh to and see you. Hey everybody, I want y'all to check out a fellow Marines podcast.
My name is Ted Nugent, and I got a call from my buddy Ryan F. Samuels, and he wants me to tell you that he's a working hard, playing all-American son of a who is celebrating God, family, country.
Welcome to the Ryan Samuels Show, one of the top political podcasts in the United States, where we have a healthy distrust for government and mainstream media. The Ryan Samuels Show is a raw, unfiltered look at American politics. Follow on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. Here is your host, Ryan Samuels.
Hello, Patriots. This is Ryan Samuels. This is the Ryan Samuels Show. Stop. Before we begin, make sure you hit that Rumble button. Give us a thumbs up and follow this channel or Facebook button wherever you are. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And tonight, it keeps getting better and better and worse for the American people. So new information has come out that, you know, remember when Edward Snowden came out and said, hey, the whole, National Security Agency is spying on you? And we're all like, man, that's not good. And then he had to flee to Russia for asylum because they were going to put him in jail for the rest of his life for being a traitor, even though he's a hero for letting us know that our Fourth Amendment rights were being absolutely just annihilated. Ever remember that? And then they were like, yeah, we're not going to do that. That was a mistake. We shouldn't be spying on you. Well, it turns out they're still spying on us. They're still spying on you. It's incredible. They will just do whatever they can do to get away with whatever they can get away with. So back a decade ago, Obama was confronted about this scenario, and let's hear what he had to say.
So, Mr. President, let me ask you first of all about news of the day, the National Security Administration. People wonder, how is it you didn't know about the cell phones being looked at or listened to, and why you didn't know and who should have told you.
Well, first of all, I'm not confirming a bunch of assumptions that have been made in the press.
He's not confirming it. Is he going to deny it? Let's see.
But what I have said is that the national security operations generally have one purpose, and that is to make sure that the American people are safe and that I'm making good decisions, and I'm the final user of all the intelligence that they gather. But they're involved in a whole wide range of issues, and we give them policy direction, but what we've seen over the last several years is their capacities continue to develop and expand, and that's why I'm initiating now a review to make sure that what they're able to do doesn't necessarily mean what they should be doing.
So should we assume from that answer, sir, that you did or would know, you would know if actually that was happening?
Jim, as I said, I'm not here to talk about classified information. What I am confirming is the fact that we're undergoing a complete review of how our intelligence operates outside of the country. There are some very strict laws governing what we do internally, and that was the initial concern brought about by some of the Snowden disclosures. Right. Internationally, there are less constraints on how our intelligence teams operate, but what I've said, and I said actually even before the Snowden leaks, is that it's important for us to make sure that as technology develops and expands and the capacity for intelligence gathering becomes a lot greater, that we make sure that we're doing things in the right way and that are reflective of our values.
So he's just not answering the question. He's not confirming it like he said, but he didn't deny it. You can kind of tell now, looking back by his answers, that he absolutely knew. He absolutely knew, and it's 100% illegal. So if you don't know what happened back then, essentially the NSA could do whatever they wanted. They could turn your cell phone camera on. They could turn your cell phone microphone on. They could turn your webcam on. There was nothing essentially that they couldn't do, and some of the stuff you would think they need a warrant, right, to turn on your camera in your house, but it turns out for a lot of situations they did not. So it was a catastrophe, and Edward Snowden, like a hero, came out and blew it up and let the world know what they were doing. And then they said, yeah, we're not going to do that. So just to have a glimpse into the capabilities, here's a clip from the movie Snowden.
It's the cleanest Pakistani I've ever seen. We got no first-degree ties to government or ISI, no shady family. I mean, second-degree contacts are off the charts, but that's everyone in the Middle East with a six-figure income.
Well, it's not dirt that we need necessarily. It's a pressure point, something intimate, some kind of weakness. Can we look through his family?
Mm-hmm. How about his sister-in-law?
Yeah. What is that? Is that some video that she sent somebody?
No, this is live. Out of Paris.
What do you mean live?
Optic nerve? It's camera and mic activation. I wish we could take credit, but the Brits wrote it. Activation? Yeah, her laptop's off. Or it was, she just forgot to close it. Of course, how would she know? This shit is so sly, the webcam light doesn't even turn on.
And that's accurate, by the way. This is not Hollywood amplifying it. This is the stuff that they were doing at any point.
I always wonder what was under those.
Okay, let's stick to family in Geneva, all right?
Okay, Snow White. 15-year-old daughter at the international school.
Yeah, Facebook? Is that possible?
Dude, Facebook's my bitch.
Seriously? Like she fights with her parents or...
Don't worry. I know all the hooks for this kind of phishing. Query name, so email, keyword, whatever selector you want. And justification is where I write. In other words, turning your daddy into a CIA informant.
Wait, that's it?
That's it, bro.
You don't have to get a FISA court order?
No, not here. X key score's under 702 authority, which means no warrants. Okay, but U.S. targets, then you'd have to get the court order.
You mean FISA?
Yeah, there's a big-ass rubber stamp, dude. I mean, FISA judges are all appointed by the Chief Justice, who's like, Darth Vader when it comes to national security. Boom. Here we go. Okay, and the boy at third base is...
Looking, by the way, that's her, not her public Facebook page, that's her messages, her private messages. I mean, they have the capability to enter anything. Your private texts, your phone calls, all of it.
Nadim. Okay. He's 18. Salma says she wants to marry him, but is scared of telling her parents. What she doesn't know is that his other name is Nicholas. And he's currently banging Geraldine and Julie. And he and his Turkish mother are here illegally. That's it.
I mean, Snowden blew this off blew this out of the water. This was major international news. The United States government is spying on you. They are absolutely violating your Fourth Amendment rights. The government's like, nah, you know what? We're not doing that. Yeah, okay, you caught us. We are doing that because Snowden snuck it all out in a Rubik's Cube, by the way. But here, just a reminder, here's a CNN report at the time.
Illegal, ineffective, and unnecessary. That is essentially what the 5-member Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board said about the National Security Agency's collection of phone data from millions of Americans. Jim Dempsey, a member of the government-appointed board, voted for the blistering report.
We have never once found evidence of a plot. Never once identified an unknown terrorist plotting attacks on the homeland or anywhere else. One time, we found a guy who was raising money for the Al-Shabaab, a terrorist group in Somalia, which is a serious crime.
But that's it?
But A, that's it. B, the FBI probably was circling around him anyhow already and would have come across him anyhow.
They're collecting your communications.
Ever since Edward Snowden leaked information about the NSA program, the White House has been on defense, calling it a critical tool for tracking terrorists.
We cannot unilaterally disarm our intelligence agencies.
For the most part, courts have so far supported the administration, but the report says the program infringes on basic privacy and is wide open to abuse by agencies seeking to spy on Americans for other reasons. The ink was hardly dry before the White House hit back again.
We simply disagree with the board's analysis on the legality of the program.
And even two members of...
How do you disagree with that? How do you disagree with that? What is there to disagree with? You need a warrant to search people's stuff. That's a God-given natural right. You have the right to be secure in your papers and your persons and your possessions without the government searching it without due process or a warrant. This is what they were doing, just sitting around. Oh, yep, turn our camera on. Let's watch her live. Let's see if we can find anything. How dangerous is that for the government to have?
Of the board issuing the report do not agree with it. Rachel Brand says the vast collection of numbers with no names attached is hardly fertile ground for a fictional government fishing trip.
So in light of that, and in light of how difficult it is for the government to look at the data once it's collected, I think the intrusion on privacy interests is small.
This committee has no real power, but this report nonetheless has created an uproar here in D.C., Don, if only because it provides more ammunition for those who do have real power and who really want to see this program shut down.
So we were told that this program was shut down, that it's not happening anymore, that it's not a problem anymore. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I'll give you one guess. The government lied to you. They lied to you. So there is another program that is happening called Operation Hemisphere. It's the Hemisphere Project. It is the United States government partnering with AT&T to track, log all of your phone calls, texts, everything for all the way back to 1986, I believe. So if you made a phone call in January of 1987, they know what time, who you called, where you were, blah, 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 blah. So this is Wikipedia, right? I'm going to show you Wikipedia. And Wikipedia used to be like this really cool thing where independent journalists and people would edit, and then it would just, the facts would come out as people would do it. But now it's just, the editors are self-proclaimed Marxist and communist. They're, we know Marxists and communists are all about this. But so let's see how bad it looks on Wikipedia. Let's see. Hemisphere Project. The Hemisphere Project, also called simply Hemisphere, codename Hudson Hawk, is a mass surveillance program conducted by the U.S. telephone company AT&T and paid for by the White House, Office of National Drug Control Policy, and the Drug Enforcement Administration. Hemisphere is a public-private partnership between the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy and AT&T, the third largest provider of mobile telephone services in the U.S. In 2013, the program was overseen by AT&T employees embedded within the Atlanta head office, 2 employees, and Houston and Los Angeles regional offices, 1 employee each, of the ONDCP's high-intensity drug trafficking area program. These employees' salaries are paid through the HIDTA program as opposed to by AT&T. Do you know what that means? That means that they are government employees working for AT&T, reporting to the government, being paid for by the government, running the show in AT&T. AT&T is not paying them. This is your government, ladies and gentlemen. AT&T collects metadata relating to all calls routed through AT&T's exchanges, including calls made from non-AT&T handsets. The data collected include the phone numbers of the caller and recipient, date, time, length of calls, and in some cases, the caller's location. An estimated 4 billion new call records are created on AT&T's database every day, though it is possible for a call to be recorded more than once. Oh, yeah, because they record the same call billions of times, right? Is that the number for the large number, or are you just surveilling everyone? As AT&T maintain records of calls placed as well as calls received, a single call may be recorded against both the caller's telephone number as an outgoing call and the recipient's telephone number as an incoming call. The number of records generated for a single call depends on its length, as well as on participants' locations, whether or not they are moving. Call detail records held as part of the project date as far back as 1987. So that's the correct date, 1987. Data are typically forwarded to investigators by email in response to administrative subpoenas, which the DEA is authorized to issue independently of the courts. That's a federal agent writing their own search warrant. That's a federal agent writing their own search warrant without the oversight of a judge to look at your phone calls whenever they want to. Investigators are not permitted to disclose the source of any high intelligence obtained through the Hemisphere Project in case reports, court filings, or other documents. Official guidance instead requires all intelligence to be cited as information obtained from an AT&T subpoena. Records for urgent information from the project database take as little as an hour to fulfill. 1984. What a great novel. What a great novel written by George Orwell. And I mean, are we here? Are we in a surveillance state? Drop it in the comments. I want to know your opinion on that. Here is another article from Wired. Secret. Oh, let me go ahead and push that over there. Secret White House surveillance program gives cops access to trillions of U.S. phone records. A Wired analysis of leaked police documents verifies that a sensitive government program is allowing federal, state, and local law enforcement to access phone records of Americans who are not suspected of a crime. A little-known surveillance program tracks more than 1 trillion domestic phone records within the United States each year, according to a letter Wired obtained that was sent by U.S. Senator Ron Wyden to the Department of Justice on Sunday, challenging the program's legality. According to the letter, a surveillance program now known as Data Analytic Services has for more than a decade allowed federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies to mine the details of Americans' calls, analyzing the phone records of countless people who are not suspected of a crime, including victims, using a technique known as chain analysis. The program targets not only those in direct phone contact with a criminal suspect, but anyone with whom those individuals have been in contact with as well. The DAS program, formerly known as Hemisphere, is run in coordination with the telecom giant AT&T, which captures and conducts analysis of U.S. call records for law enforcement agencies, from local police and sheriff's departments to U.S. customs offices, postal inspectors across the country, according to the White House memo reviewed by Wired. Records show that the White House has provided more than $6 million to the program, which allows the targeting of records of any calls that use AT&T's infrastructure, a maze of routers and switches that crisscross the United States. So even if you have a Verizon cell phone and you're traveling across the United States and your Verizon cell phone uses an AT&T tower, they record that too. So essentially it's everybody. It's not just people who have AT&T. It's anybody who's used AT&T services. And those cell phone towers and all the internet, it's all intertwined. They all use each other's infrastructure. In a letter to U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland on Sunday, Wyden wrote that he had serious concerns about the legality of the DAS program, adding that troubling information he received would justifiably outrage many Americans and other members of Congress. That information, which Wyden said the DOJ confidentially provided to him, is considered sensitive but unclassified by the U.S. government, meaning that while it poses no risks to national security, federal officials like Wyden are forbidden from disclosing it to the public, according to the senator's letter. AT&T spokesperson Kim Hart Johnson declined Wired's request to comment on a DAS program, saying only yet the company is required by law to comply with a lawful subpoena. But it's not a lawful subpoena if it hasn't been signed by a judge. If it's just some, popcorn-eating DEA agent sitting in his corner, just goes, oh yeah, I want a warrant. I want to look at their phone records. Send them to me. There's no law requiring AT&T to store decades worth of Americans' call records for law enforcement purposes. Documents reviewed by Wired show that AT&T's officials have attended law enforcement conferences in Texas as recently as 2018 to train police officials on how best to utilize AT&T's voluntary, albeit revenue-generating assistance. In 2020, the Transparency Collective distributed denial of secrets, published hundreds of gigabytes of law enforcement data stolen from agencies around the U.S. So it's still happening. It's just happening under a different name, under a different guise, under a different ruse. But it is happening nonetheless. And Joe Biden doesn't even know where he is most days, let alone have the capacity to handle a situation like this. I mean, he's completely incompetent. The guy can barely walk across the stage. Let's listen to this modern news report on this situation.
The federal government is being ordered to release internal documents on its domestic covert spying program. The program, known as the Hemisphere Project, gives government investigators access to anyone's cell phone calls and location data without any warrant at all. In 2016, the Daily Beast discovered that the AT&T designed and marketed the Hemisphere Project for the government, a sweet deal for AT&T. They hand over customers' private data to the government, and they get in return millions of dollars for that.
Oh, imagine that. Your tax money is funding this.
All at taxpayers' expense, of course. The government argues that having this capability of spying is needed for our security, but if they need to have that level of power over a citizen who has done nothing criminal at all or deserving of any investigation, it makes you wonder, whose security are they really protecting? Perhaps that's exactly what the soon-to-be released documents are going to help us uncover.
That's a great question. And I have to agree. Who are they assuming they're protecting if they're just, stalking people who who have done nothing and have already backed down from the Snowden debacle? Here's another clip of this one's from CBS.
Mass surveillance of Americans for profit. That's what AT&T is doing, according to a report out Tuesday from the Daily Beast. The report digs into the company's Hemisphere program, which was revealed in 2013 when the New York Times reported that AT&T had partnered with the government to help investigate drug crimes. But the Daily Beast says new documents show it's more than a so-called partnership because AT&T allegedly charges the agencies it works with for access to its data. CBS News Justice reporter Paula Reed is in Washington. All right, so Paula, explain what Project Hemisphere is.
In Project Hemisphere, employees from AT&T work alongside federal and local law enforcement to help those law enforcement officials mine through this database of trillions of call records when they need them for certain cases. Now, they're able to cast such a wide net because not only does this AT&T database have information from AT&T customers, it also has information from other customers who use AT&T switches, so whose calls go through AT&T channels, AT&T's equipment. But let's be clear what information they're getting in this database. They are not getting a transcription of your call or recording of your call, but for example,
That we know of. If they were, would they tell you?
today, when I called my mom up in Boston, they would understand that I called her from Washington. I made the call to Boston. We talked for about 12 minutes, but they won't know that we talked about, for example, the Gilmore Girls trailer that was released today. It's called metadata, and that's all they're entitled to under the law.
Well, Hemisphere has previously been described as a partnership between AT&T and the U.S. government. What do these new documents reveal?
The new documents that the Daily Beast has published and reported on reveal the money side of things. This just isn't a public-private partnership. It's a business for AT&T. It's a way to make money. So the Daily Beast today brought forth more information about this very secretive program. That's the thing. The government nor AT&T has really brought forth a lot of details about this program. So previously, it was not known particularly how the partnership worked when it came to the money side of things.
And so, Paula, what are the legal implications given that AT&T is reportedly making millions of dollars per year at a cost to taxpayers?
Well, it's what they're doing, what they're providing. The telephone company, the communications company is required to do under law. It's not illegal. Now, they didn't necessarily have to set up a database or a program to make it really easy, but so far there's no indication that that part is illegal. However, as I said,
What are you talking about? They're looking at your stuff without a warrant. Yes. CBS morons. Yes, it's illegal.
they're not providing a lot of details. They're not being super responsive to a lot of the Freedom of Information Act requests that have been filed for more information.
Imagine that. They're not being responsive to the Freedom of Information Acts or FOIA requests that people have sent them. Imagine that.
About the program. So, Elaine, there have been lawsuits, and that's really the legal implication here. Is there have been lawsuits against the DEA, against the government, trying to seek more information. And if it turns out that they tried to withhold details about this taxpayer-funded program, that could be a problem. Again, it's not the crime; it's the potential cover-up.
Right. Now, all of this.
It's the crime. In this case, you know, you're quoting something from Watergate, but whatever. These people do not care about you. These people will spy on you no matter what happens, no matter what the Supreme Court says, no matter what people come out. They're brazened, they're boldened because there are never any repercussions for their actions. You need to get these people out of office. You need to vote. And I don't want to hear about elections and they're not fair and they're fraudulent. I don't want to hear it. You need to go out and vote. I can guarantee you the Republican National Committee is working on the election problem. I can guarantee you that, along with 50% of the United States. You need to go out and you need to vote. And you need to put people in office who are against this stuff. Because if you don't, there will not be enough.